Hello, and welcome to this quick little class on using manipulatives with your class. I've created some manipulatives for Google Slides that I want to share with you, and I want to show you a few different ways to use them. In this presentation, I do have a screen that will talk to you about these things as well, but I thought I'd show you on a video on how you might use them. So I'm going to click on the base 10 blocks. If you are grades 2 and above, you might be using base 10 blocks to demonstrate numbers for your students. And so on these manipulatives, you'll see them on the side of the Google Slides. So this isn't really a presentation that a student would give like an oral report. In this way, you can use Google Slides where the slide itself becomes kind of your workspace, and then the outside of the slide is that space for all your extra manipulatives. So all the ones that might have gotten messy on the desk stay relatively calm on the base 10 block slide. So what you would do is you would take this slide and first you would duplicate it. So, copy it. So I'm going to copy this slide and I'm going to start a new presentation for my class today. So the quickest way to do that is to type slides.new, and that'll start up a new slide presentation for you. And I'm going to arrange this slide. I'm going to take this slide, I'm going to right click and paste the slide that I just copied. I'm not going to link it to the original presentation, that doesn't matter. So when I push my, my page up, you can see, let me close the themes, you can see there's my manipulatives off to the side. Now, the special thing about this page is these manipulatives, there's actually more than one stacked one on top of the other. So if I'm going to demonstrate how to make the number 236, and I might ask the kids, okay, so I want to make the number 236, I might type that number up here. So the kids are watching and I'm putting 236 at the top of the page. I might make it bigger so that they can see it better. And I can make that as big as I want, changing the font size. So I want to demonstrate how to make the number 236. And I might ask the class, all right, so in the number 236, how many ones do I need? And the class might answer 6. Maybe they answer that in the chat. Or I might randomly call on some students to find out how many ones I might need. So when they tell me 6, then I can move these over and see how they're stacked. So there's actually a whole bunch of ones over here. They're just all stacked up neatly. And I can move over as many as I want. So now that I have 6 ones, I could do the same thing with the 10s, and I can move the 10s over when the kids tell me that there's 3 10s. And then, of course, how many hundreds? I can move the hundreds over. I'm going to run out of space over here. So if that's the case, I can make these manipulatives smaller. So I'm going to undo using Command Z. I can undo. If I select all of these by clicking outside and dragging a square over it, that selects all of those manipulatives and I can make them smaller. So now I could bring over just the blocks that I wanted to bring, the smaller blocks that I wanted to bring over. So you can change the size of the manipulatives if you need to, especially when you get into the hundreds. So that's one way you can use it, is for demonstration. Now let's think about maybe some younger kids. So let's look at our Unifix cube slide. You might have kids who, they're counting. You might be practicing counting. And maybe you're doing this with a small group. So instead of demonstrating for the whole class, you might be using a small group. So one of the ways that you can do that is, again, I'm going to copy this slide. And I'm going to go open up a new presentation for my students. And in this one, I might have a small group that I'm working with. So I'm going to paste that slide, but I'm actually going to paste it a few times. So I've pasted it once. I can use duplicate slide to duplicate it again. So maybe I'm working with 4 students. So I might have my 4 students in my Zoom meeting, and I might tell them, okay, you're going to take slide number 2, and then next student, you're going to take slide number 3. And so now I have assigned numbers of slides to the kids. So this way, they're all using the same presentation, but they're working off the slide that I've told them to work off of. And then I might on my screen say, okay, today we are going to make the number 5. And so I'm going to make 5 super big because I'm presenting that to the kids. So on my Zoom screen, my kids are seeing the number 5. Let's make it huge. I'll go really, really big. I can go even bigger than that if I want to. I can type in whatever number I want. So I'm going to make that really big. Today we're going to make the number 5. And so the students can, on theirs, decide what color they want. So maybe they want to use blue. So they're going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's kind of the cool part though. So you just saw me do that as one student, but if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see what all of the students are doing at the same time because they all have the same slideshow in front of them. So you might see student number 3, this student may have only pulled out that. And you would need to ask them the question, so how many Unifix cubes do you have? And then that student could answer, oh, I have 2. Okay, do you need more? And you could push that questioning. You might have a student who thinks, okay, I have this figured out, and they do that. And then when you ask them, they count out that there's 5. So they might not have seen, oh, I could move multiple cubes over, but they do have 5 there, and you're able to, in the small group, figure out what they had. So that's another way that you could use that in a small group. The last way you might use that, and I'm going to go back to my original Manipulatives page, you might decide that you want to find out what students know how to do. So you could take a slide like the 10 frame encounter slide. I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy it, and then again, I'm going to start my new presentation. And this presentation, I'm actually going to assign to all of the kids. So I come over here, I right click, and I'm going to paste that slide again. And this time, it's a 10 frame encounter slide. So I'm going to delete out this extra slide that I don't need. Here I've got a 10 frame encounter slide. If I push it up, I've shown the kids how to push that up too. And now I can ask them to make certain numbers. So maybe on this 10 frame encounters, I want them all to show me a way to make 8. So I'm going to make 8 on the text box. I'm going to make that text box yellow, so that way they know I want you to make the number that's in yellow. And then my second slide, I might duplicate that slide, and I'm going to say, show me another way to make 8. So in this slide, I'm going to say, show another way to make 8. Obviously, that's too big. I'm going to make the text box a little bit different. I'm going to make the direction smaller. And now they can show another way to make 8. I can assign this in Google Classroom to each of my students. Each of my students is going to complete the 2 slides and then send it back to me. So that's a way to use it as an individual basis. So I do have some other slides here that you might use depending on your grade level. There's a double 10 frame. For our younger kids, there's some more counters and some fraction tiles for the older grades if you want to use that. I also know that there's probably other manipulatives you might want to use. So here's some links to other manipulatives. One of the tough things about the other manipulatives is if you're trying to have them turn it in, they usually have to screenshot. So I put some information down at the bottom to help your students screenshot. So if they're using another online manipulative and you want to see their work, they can screenshot that and paste it to a Google slide or a Google Doc and submit that back to you. So lots of different ways that we can use online manipulatives. Good luck. Please don't hesitate to contact your coach or contact me in CPL for any questions or some extra help with online manipulatives.